coming in and out of the screen. So today we're going to talk about three things that I did um, that transformed my opinion about having hatred towards people. So for those of you, okay, well, let's take this back. Ooh, 10 years ago, I started my journey into self development because I had a lot of anger issues. Like 10 years ago, I was around 23, 22 years old, and it was it was hard to be in my shoes. It really was hard to be in my shoes. I was going to college, but because I felt like I needed to from my parents, like they had to, like I had to do it, not because I wanted to, but because my parents required me to do it. And so I was in college, but I mean, somebody that doesn't want to be in college, what do? Like they party. I used to be a party girl, a big time party girl in college. So much that I used to actually um, have parties at my parents' house all the time, like all the time. It was if it wasn't every weekend, it was every other weekend. And I used to love getting hammered because if I got hammered, it gave me an excuse to be like a crappy human being. And I didn't even, and it was, I also used to use it as a way to run away. I feel like a lot of people use drinking to get away from whatever the reality of their life is, which I'm definitely not someone to judge if somebody does do that. Like that's not my position. That's not I don't have a say, if that's something that you do or but I'm just sharing that that's something that I did. And so yeah, like I used to have parties all the time at my house, but every time I would finish, like the party would be, towards the second half, like almost ending. Like I would be so hammered. I'll want to argue with my boyfriend at the time. I would love to start like arguments with people, just really like an excuse, like I said, like an excuse to be a shitty human being. And so I remember one time being like, I wanted there to be a party, but there was like people, it was too last minute. People did not want to party that weekend. I forgot why. There was a specific, I think it was like something about finals or something like that. And people were like, no, I really need to study and da da da. And so I remember that day, I got like a lot of people were telling me that they didn't want to do anything that weekend. And I just remember feeling like, fine, I'll drink by myself. Like, if you guys are not willing to do it. And then that's when I started to realize, like, wow, I have a problem. Like, if you're willing to just go get some booze, walk to the store, get some booze, and then drink by yourself, like, there's something there. And that was like around my first hint. But the thing is, I didn't capture it right away. Um, I used to there, and then obviously my relationships wouldn't last because I mean, who wants to be with somebody that's always trying to fight? Like, let's be real, nobody. Or if you do, then there's something also going on with that person. If you enjoy that, there's something there. There's definitely something there. So my relationships wouldn't last, and then there was uh, people get tired of me. I mean, I would get tired of me. So I remember having to always like um, find somebody new to hang out with because my friendships or even my like relationships wouldn't really last. And then around the time I decided to change, I was dating this guy. Let's call him. Well, he was Arab, so we can't even call. Let's just call him Jose. But keep in mind, Jose is Arab. He's not Jose. um, his real name is not Jose. But I don't want to. I don't want to share his life because that's not my story to tell, you know. So I remember I was dating Jose, and then thinking to myself, like I gotta do something. Like there's just no way this is what my life's about. Like just drinking and I mean, obviously I wasn't picking the right type of men, so they weren't if they had some form of addiction. And this Jose actually had an addiction of smoking weed, and then also doing bad business. Like when I say bad business, hi, can you guys hear me? Are you guys able to hear what I'm saying? Like if I'm not in front of the camera, like right here. Oh, okay, perfect. The Walmart guy. I like that name. um, yeah, so I was dating Jose, and I remember thinking to myself, like, this is just no way. Like, there's no way my life's about this, about just drinking myself away to the point where I want to forget everything, or I do forget everything. You know, like sometimes I would wake up and I'll be like, whoa, what happened last night? And that's not a place you want to put yourself in, especially if you're a girl. Like that's extremely dangerous. It's definitely not a position you want to put yourself every week. And but I was there. I was definitely there. I remember one day I was talking to Jose and I was like, I'm not happy. I don't know what it is. I just know I'm not happy. I don't know what's wrong with me. Why am I always so angry? Why am I such an angry person? Like you deserve a better girlfriend. I'm not a good person. I'm not a good person. And it was so real to me. So real to me that I was not a good person. And even now, every now and then, I do struggle with that. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I do struggle with that. It's not, but it's not as frequent as it used to be. So yeah, like I remember telling him that, and I told him like I need help. I don't know what it is. I don't know where to get it. I don't know where to look. I just know I can't be continue to do this. And so he said like, you know what? How about this? Like, how about we give ourselves a whole month to 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 discover ourselves? Because at that time we were constantly fighting. Like me and this man were fighting all the time, and we were both kind of getting tired. He was around that stage where he wanted to let go of me already. And remember, oh no, let me get that. I don't like making trash. Um, he's around that time where I already knew he wanted to leave me. It was already a cycle. I already knew what the men, how they were acting when they were like ready to leave me, and I can tell he was getting there. And I was like, you know what, like I need to do something different. So yeah, we gave ourselves. We said we're gonna give ourselves a whole month to not, you know, to to figure ourselves out. And I told myself, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I just know it has to be something different. I can't keep doing the exact same thing I've been doing. This just does not. I can't keep doing this. So I remember, what's it called? I remember like asking for help. And at that time, my sister was doing a lot of personal training courses, and I think she had just started one. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, I don't know what she's doing, but that looks like a bunch of like like people come out of there like really happy. And I just remember thinking like I don't know if I want to do any of those things that she's doing. And there were seminars, but I didn't even know what they were. And I just remember thinking like, okay, I don't know what those are, but people seem to get out of there pretty happy. And then my sister said, um, and then my sister said, like, hey, like, do you want to come to an introduction to one of the seminars that I go to? And I said, no, uh, that's good for you. That works for you, but I don't want to do that. I was so scared. I was so scared I want to change, but I was scared to do the change. And I don't know if you've been there, but yeah, like when you're where you know you don't want the same thing that's been happening, but yet you're too scared to take the steps. And I was there. I was just like, I want to change, but I didn't want to. I didn't know like what was it going to look like, and I was scared of the unknown. And it got to the point where I told my sister. My sister insisted, and now she's like, "Come on, let's go." And she started to cry, and I was like, "Okay, you know what? Okay, fine. Like days already passed. She had already asked me several times, and I was like, okay, fine. Like obviously, if you're willing to cry for it, like I guess like it must be important." And so I went, and I remember going into that course, and people were so nice. Everybody was so welcoming. People were like, "Hi, like so happy to hear, and so happy that you're here." And I'm like, "You don't even know me. Like, what's up with all these weird people? Why are they so happy?" And it was so weird for me. It was so, it was different. You know, I used to hang out with people that used to love drinking, and like it was like not the best people to talk to. So the atmosphere was different. But I just remember thinking like, huh, like I don't know what this is, but I like the feeling, and I'm scared. So I went. They talked about the seminar, what they do there, and I just remember thinking to myself, like at the end of the seminar, they're like, okay, well this costs us this much. And in my mind, I'm like, oh man, I can't afford that. Like, I literally had no money. I had no money. I was living, I was living in a space where I was just, um, what's it called? I was living in a space where I was just, whatever I was making, I was spending because I was spending it in alcohol. And I used to, at the time, I was already drinking every day, which freaking, and I was drinking by myself because at that, I didn't even care if people wanted to drink with me by that time. So I was just drinking by myself, but everything I would make, I'll use it either on food because I got the munchies out of being drunk, or I would use it on booze. And I just remember telling my sisters like I can't afford that. Like I want to do it, but honestly I can't afford it. And then I was like a deep no because I did it. And my sister was like, I'll pay for it. And I was like, no, like that's a lot of money for you to pay for something for me. Um, no, it's okay. Like I'll do it some other time. And I'll be real. Like if my sister wouldn't have insisted that day for me to do it, I don't know where I would be at right now because she insisted so much that she got to pay for my seminar. She put the down payment for the seminar, and and then and if she wouldn't have done that, I honestly but it probably would have been like, okay, I tried to change, it just didn't work, it's not for me, this is my life. Like I would probably just I honestly think I would be dead right now because all the stuff that I was already doing by that time, I used to drink and drive. I could have either been dead, killed myself, or killed someone and been in jail because I was being so irresponsible. And so I thank my sister all the time for being that stand for me to to want to change. 'Cause she saw something. She saw something like she wasn't willing to give up on me. And at that time, everybody was already giving up on me. Even my parents, my mom and my dad didn't want me at the house anymore because they didn't know how to control my rage. So I literally I was getting like, and my mom was still fighting for me, but she wasn't like I can tell she was very like she was already in resignation, you know. And man, I kind of feel like crying because I remember that time. I remember seeing my mom's face, and there's like this deep sadness in her eye, kind of like I want to help my daughter. I just don't know how to do it. I did everything I could, and honestly, yeah, she did. My mom's an amazing mom. Like she freaking did it. I'm sorry if my eyes are getting watery. My mom did everything she could in her power. But the thing is, when somebody doesn't want the help, no matter what you do, you're not gonna get the help. And I was there at that time when she was trying to help me. I I did not need in my mind. I did not need help. So when somebody feels like they don't need help, no matter what you do, you can be kicking and screaming, and that person will not hear you. They will not hear you. And, and so, my sister paid for my seminar. She paid for the down payment for the seminar, and she told me I need to come up with parts of um, the other uh, the rest of the payment. And I remember like, how am I going to do that? I don't know how to do that. I mean, I'm barely making enough. At least in my mind, that's what I was telling myself. Like I'm barely making enough. I didn't realize how much I was spending on booze. I was spending so much on alcohol. Um, but yeah, like I remember I was I had to figure it out. And that's around the time that I told you that my boyfriend at the time, he he was he wanted that break. So all this happened within the first few days of me being on break with my boyfriend at the time. So I went on the seminar. I made it work to where I paid for the seminar the soonest possible. And I told my dad before the seminar, I was like, Dad, I'm gonna stop drinking. But my parents didn't believe me because I had already lied so much to them. Like it was a constant lie. Like lying about everything, lying about being addicting, like to alcohol. I lied about I lied about so many things. I stole money. Like it was really bad. So they couldn't trust me. So when I said I'm gonna be sober, I'm gonna sober up, my dad didn't believe me. But I had to figure it out. Like, okay, if they're not gonna believe me right now, it's okay. Like my actions will be able to tell and let them know that I'm being serious. But the first couple of days, I told my dad, like, Dad, I want to lose weight. Because at the time, I was really chunky. I wasn't even chunky, to be completely honest. I was normal. I was like this. But I'm very short. So when I gain weight, you can tell. You can tell fast because I'm a very small person. I look even shorter. And so I, like I told my dad, I don't want to drink anymore. I want to lose weight. And he's like, okay, well, start by doing like two basic things. I guess he wanted me to see if I would actually do them. But I didn't know it was a test until he told me later. Um, but he's like, just do these two things. I did them. I started drinking more water. I stopped I stopped eating at night, and I wasn't really going out, so they could see everything that I was doing. And my dad, like a couple days later, I was like, Dad, I've been doing what you said. What else do you think I can do to forward? Um, like, what else do you think I can do to lose the weight? And he said, okay, well, then stop eating salt and sugar. I stopped eating salt and sugar. And then my dad started seeing like, wow, there's like something happening here. Like my daughter, like that first month, I'll tell you guys, that first month I lost 18 pounds because it was all alcohol. It was all the alcohol. It was all the, it was, it was the night eating that I stopped that it literally helped me lose weight really fast. And so I was I remember. Can you guys still hear me? Can you guys type in yes if you can still hear me? I'm a little far. Uh, okay, perfect. Um, and so the seminar happened, right? So that's the first step. I did something different than what I was already doing. And it for me, it started being a seminar. For somebody else, it could be like reading a book that you normally wouldn't read that will help you get out of your own way. And there's so many of those nowadays. Like the internet is filled with those. You just want to make sure it's something. If one book doesn't speak to you, don't give up with that one book. Do another one. Same thing with me. Like if this seminar didn't speak to me, I now that I already took in the first one, I would have taken another one somewhere else or with another organization. Something different, but do something different outside of yourself. And that was the first step. But for me, it was a seminar. For some people, it could be religion. It can be like, you know what, I'm gonna get close to God. By all means, whatever that shape and form takes, like that's what works for you, then by all means do it. So for me, it was like a seminar where I had to go inside. I remember sitting down in that seminar, and the first couple, it was only 3 days. I mean, that's actually a lot of time. But it was 3 days, and that the date, they pretty much what it was is that in the seminar they told us like, hey, um, like your life is going the way that your life is going because you're in it. So even you can change location, you can decide to move to another place, but you still take yourself with you. So if you don't like what you see, there's something there for you to see, for you to discover, for you to transform. And I remember thinking like, God, like I can already tell that this is I'm gonna have to be dealing with my demons. And I remember being so scared. I was eating my fingernails, like anxious. I was so anxious. I was eating my fingernails. I was like, man, like this is not this is not what I wanted. I wanted a secret remedy, a fast remedy, something fast and easy that can help me fix myself because I'm broken and I'm not like everybody else. Like everybody's so happy, but me. Everybody has their life perfect. Everybody seems to get their shit together except for me. And I just thought, like, just give me like a pill, like something for me to do, easy fix. Not this. Don't tell me to be dealing with myself. That's why I drink so much. Like I don't want to deal with myself. And so I remember like the first discussion happened and it said something, I'm gonna butcher it, okay? But it said something along the lines of like your parents did the absolute best that they can and that they could at that time that they had you, whether you had a good childhood or a bad childhood, just know that they did the best with whatever tools that they had at that time. And I remember thinking like, crap. I went back and I did my I I felt like I went back to memories and tapped into memories that I didn't even remember I had. They were so deep in my subconscious. But I remember thinking like, oh my God, I've been depressing and suppressing a lot of feelings of guilt, of I'm a bad person, that I started being a bad person. And I got that deep embedded into my head, like that that feeling like I am a bad person. I'm not a good person. And I was like, where did that come from? Like I'm thinking. And then I remember, and this is very personal, okay? And the only reason why I'm sharing this, okay, is because I've had so many years of uh, going to seminars, going to counseling, going to therapy for it. that I have learned to be at as at peace as I can possibly be at peace right now with it. Okay. So all I ask from you is to listen to me, and whatever comes up from that is what has to come up. But this is what I was dealing with. Okay. Uh, when I was a kid, the memory was that when I was a kid, I was stuck at home, sometimes without my parents, without mom and dad, having to be there. And I, when my mom was like at work, because they would work a lot. My parents worked so much, and my parents were at work. Um, so there was a couple times where my uncle, we used to have family members be with us, and so um, because we would be the shelter for a lot of people that would come from Mexico, and they needed a place to stay, but it was all family. Like we would, our house would be the house where people would go to if they needed a place to go, if they had nothing. So there was a lot of people coming in and out. Everybody was in their late teens, 18, 19, um, 18, 19, and they would come, and sometimes they would stay long, sometimes they wouldn't. But that was my uncle, which is from my mom's side of the family. Um, he stayed with us for a couple of years. He got comfortable there, He that was his home. It wasn't just like a place to stay for a couple of weeks or months. It was like it became his home. But while my parents were away, he would be doing stuff to me that he shouldn't be doing to a little kid. I was around 6 or 7 years old. You can let your imagination wander with what I mean by that, because I can't say that. I can't say it on here because then this video will be blocked. But um, yeah, so he would be doing stuff to me while my parents were away. Sometimes when they would be at work, parents would be working a lot. Also, the time my parents would take me with them, but there would be sometimes that they wouldn't be able to get a hold of me and my sister because they were a bit too busy working. So uh, yeah, he would be doing stuff while my parents were away, and I I remember when I the thing is, so I'm back at the seminar, right? And this memory comes. I was like, oh my God, like I have so much hatred in my heart because what I made it mean in my head was like if a family member, like I felt wrong. Like that doesn't feel right when something like that happens. Like it feels wrong. You know it. Your intuition, even though you don't know what's happening, your intuition knows. Your soul knows. And I just remember thinking like, and I'm back at that seminar, that memory comes in, and I was like, oh my God, like this is why I don't like people. Because it's just like if in my mind I'm like if a family member is willing to do this to me and this is not okay, like if a family member is willing to do this to me, then that means everybody's like a bad person, and I need to protect myself, and so I'd rather be the bad person than to be done something back to. So at that, I think around that when I was a kid, there was a time and there was a time that I chose that I said that to myself, and that's who I started being. I started being angry, and then I started drinking. Once I was able to drink. Once I was able to do my thing, like I if I can change, I wasn't gonna be the prey anymore. I wasn't gonna let myself. So that's why I started being the way I was being. And it was crazy because it happened so fast. It's not like you tell yourself like, oh, from now on, I'm gonna be like this. Like, no, it happens so fast in your subconscious. You don't even realize that the switch comes off. Like that you're no longer that same little that kid that at one point you if let's say if you were a really happy kid, like something happens to you and then you decide at that time to never be that way again because that way of being that got you in trouble or that got you hurt is like that's what's going to cause pain. So you decide at that moment, like, I'm not gonna be that way. So I said to myself, like, I'm no longer gonna let myself be be hurt by people. And that's why I started being like angry, and then I started drinking a lot, and then even being more angry, trying to make troubles with people. Like, be the person to create trouble, be the person to create the drama. Like, that was me. And so I realized that I was like, oh my god, like, I haven't been being myself since I was a kid. I haven't been being myself since I was like 7, 8 years old. Because there was a point in time where I was a kid, and I was a quiet kid. Like, I was expressed like when my parents were around, but besides that, it was kind of hard for me to be expressed. My mom says that I was actually not shy, but in my mind, I was shy. Like, in my world, I was like not that, like, compared to other kids, I was not that happy. I was not that outgoing. But my mom says that I was pretty outgoing, probably compared to my sister. My sister was very extremely shy, and I think she's comparing us, and I think that's why she thinks that. But yeah, I remember feeling that, and in seeing that, and I instantly got this voice. It's like, wow, I have not been being myself for such a long time. I don't even know who I am. I don't know who I am, and I'm kind of scared because who I thought I was is not who I really am. It's just who I who I made myself to be because I was scared, because I was scared that something bad was gonna happen if I was myself. So when I realized that in the seminar, I called my parents, and I apologized to my mom, and I apologized to my dad, because I think parts of me was also kind of like mad that they weren't at home when all that stuff was happening. Like, so I was kind of upset with them. So that's why sometimes I will be having I would have an attitude problem, because they didn't protect me. But how could they protect me if they didn't even know what was going on? And like, that's what I realized in the seminar. It's like, wow, it wasn't even their fault. And I've been getting so upset and angry at the world, and because of what one person was doing to me. And let me turn this off. And I apologized to my parents, apologized to my sister, and then I forgave my uncle that did that to me. I forgave him, because I knew that if I didn't forgive him, I wasn't going to be able to fully heal, like, and fully be at peace. And I think when people say heal, I think they really mean is to be at peace with themselves. And so I forgave him because I wanted peace for myself, because I knew that the little child, the little version of me, would want to be at peace with herself, because she deserves that, because it wasn't her fault. Because if I was going to be full of hatred still, that child, she's not going to be fully healed. There's always going to be something there. And I wasn't willing to take that chance and take that away from her. There's the little version of me, like, she's happy go lucky. Before all that happened, she was a very happy go lucky kid. Then I started being more secluded, and then more angry, then quiet. So the second thing I did was I had to apologize to everybody that I hurt. And I still do that up to this day. Whether that means like I was being rude to someone, or if I was being short with my husband, like, I take responsibility, because I deserve my own peace, and and the people around me deserve the best version of me. And sometimes I don't give the best version of me. I'll be honest, I'm not, because I'm freaking human and I make mistakes, and sometimes I'm reactive, and sometimes I'm amazing, and then sometimes I'm a shitty human being, and then sometimes I'm an amazing human being. But regardless, I own it and I take responsibility. I take responsibility of my actions when I'm being a good human being, and then I take responsibilities of my actions when I'm being a crappy human being. But regardless, I take the responsibility. If I need to apologize for being a certain way, I apologize and I mean it, and I don't do it again. Every now and then I do ask my husband, it's like, hey, like, is there something that did work, that I did this month? We have these dates where we talk about how we did for the month, like is there something that triggered, or something that I did to make them upset or mad. Like, I asked, like, hey, is there something that didn't work for you that I did? And we're honest. And then if there's something that he really didn't like, then but I own it, and I'm like, okay, you know what, I'll work on it. And sometimes it's not easy, sometimes it's like a hard fix, but I work on it and I try my best. Sometimes my best isn't enough, but it's okay. I'm still working on it. And so the second thing that I did was I took responsibility for all my actions, whether that's good or that's bad. Whether that means you have to talk to somebody and apologize to them and then tell them that it's never going to happen and never do that again. Or whether if or take responsibility of something great, like, wow, like I did that. I'm amazing. Like, and really get that how amazing I am or that you are, but you take responsibility. And that's the second action that I took and that I still take, um, to transform my my love or hatred towards people. So then, now that it's been what, 9 years that I did all that. That first year was really hard. I'll tell you that it was so hard. It was so hard to be with myself. It was so hard to. I had to. I okay. Let me tell you guys what I did. I'll put you guys right here. I was I okay is in that same seminar. I took several, by the way, and it didn't just take one, but it was like the first one that got the ball rolling. But I took more than one, and because they were helping, so I knew that if I kept going, like, my life is just not going to be the same. Like, I already knew it, so I kept going. And so I remember, in one seminar within the same company, the same self-development company. Um, that seminar, it said, like, if you don't like something, you have to change it. You have to go all the way back to all the places where you started kind of like, quote unquote, messing up. And I was thinking to myself, like, man, I want to have a real relationship. I want to have a relationship where there's like so much love and compassion and a passionate love, like not just like 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 something real, something raw, like something you see in the movies. And and I remember thinking to myself, like, I want that. Like, I know that it exists. I just don't know how to get it because I never had it and I never really seen it. I mean, I've seen it in my parents, and my parents really do love each other. But there was something more like miraculous that I wanted, like definitely like a fairy tale. And let me tell you, my marriage is not a fairy tale, because a fairy tale, there's like no, there's only like one problem and then they live happily ever after. And I realized that was so unrealistic. But what I do have is a marriage full of miracles where there's a lot of love and a lot of compassion, which at the end of the day, that is what I wanted. And so I I remember in that course, and I hadn't met my husband. Okay, keep in mind, I didn't go back to Jose because I knew that it was toxic, but not because of him. It was toxic because of me, and I still needed to work on myself. And I couldn't date anybody until I knew that I dealt with whatever it is that I like that made this so destructive. And so that's that. And so I decided to take the second step and take it to a whole new level. And I remember I was like, I'm gonna write down my ex's names and what I did to contribute for it to go bad. And let me tell you, that list was long, not because of the exes, but because there's so many things that I contributed that made it go south so easily. And every conversation with I'm sorry, and I hope that whatever it is that happened with us, like you don't take it to the next relationship, and wish them good luck and actually mean it. And I did that. I called all my exes, and now, I mean, they're not like my friends, but now let's say if I see them in person, there will be nothing weird there. There would be more like, wow, like hi Lucy, like how's your day going? Or like there would be like an actual like human to human conversation because I owned up to everything. And even though some of my exes were like really messed up human beings too, I didn't ask for them to take responsibility too. I just wanted to take full responsibility because I was in the relationship. So I remember, uh, I remember, like, let me tell you, two very different conversations. So one went really good and one went really bad. Do you guys want to hear the really good one or the really bad one? Which one do you guys want to hear first? I'll give you guys a pick. The bad one? Okay. Oh man. Okay. Okay. I'm just okay. So now I did my best. Okay. But I was still working on myself. Okay. So I called my one of my exes, and I was with this guy for like almost a year. Most of my exes, like we were together for like a year or two. Like it was never like a really short. I never really dated for like a short period of time. Um, it was around this like a year, and then man, okay, I called this guy. I met actually no, I lied. I messaged him on Facebook because I didn't have his phone number anymore. It was already like 4 years had already passed by that I actually broke up. Me and him broke up, right? So I I told him it's like, hey, like let's call him Andy. Andy, I'm sending you this message. Hopefully we can talk on the phone. Maybe I call you on here on Messenger, and let me know if that works for you. It's a important conversation. So this guy, like, I think it was that same day. He's like, the ending of the day, he's like, I don't want to talk to you. Like, you're like like you're the devil. You're like the devil in this earth. Like it's like whatever you need to say to me, you can just message me. And I was like, oh, like okay. In my mind, I'm like, okay, okay, I deserve that. I was a shitty girlfriend at the time. I deserve that. Like, okay, okay. So my mistake was I kept going, knowing that he was in that space, you know. And I was like, okay, message him the next day. I waited for him to cool down, and I was like, hey, like, yeah, I just wanted to apologize for for being a shitty like girlfriend, um, and I took responsibility, right? I didn't ask him to take responsibility. I just took responsibility for like all responsibility, right? Like I said, I did. And then he replied like days later. He's like I hope he's like I hope like he said really hurtful things, but I guess I can just make it as nice as possible because it's just like why say those mean hurtful things. But he said something along the lines like I hope something really bad happens to you because he's like you're a shitty human being and like I you can take your bullshit like your bull crap and apology and you can take it to whoever you decided to destroy next and in my mind I'm like dang I really hurt the crap out of this guy and I saw the impact of me being a shitty human being like that's the impact like that's what I did I caused that Like I caused a person to have that much hatred in their heart. But let me tell you, he already was kind of like that, but it's just I gave him more of a reason to hate people. And yeah, he was just like, even till this day, okay, let me tell you guys, even till this day, every now and then he messages me and he judges me of something that I post online. Like the other time he's like, it's like you're it's so ironic, like so many like some I'm not even gonna say it, but it's like he messages me every now and then, like judging me about my life, and and every time I'm like trying to be gracious with it, or I just read it because I know that he's not in the space to actually listen. I think he just wants somebody to fight with, and um, but I got to be present to the impact of like my actions made somebody like be this pissed off, this mad, and I'm like, wow, like I can't believe I did that. But you know what? It's my karma. My karma is coming back. My karma is you're too skinny to act like that. Am I really too skinny? um, but remember, at the time I was chunky. Remember what you guys have to listen. At the time I was a chunky person because I used to drink and I used to eat a lot. Now I lost all the weight. Um, but yeah, like he every now and then he still messages me, and you know what? Like when he messages me, I still get triggered. I'm like, what the hell? Like what is wrong with him? Like, but then I have to really pray and like meditate for him because it's like obviously he's still stuck in his head. There's something there for him. So once I get out of my reactive mode, like I realize like wow, like no, this human being really needs my prayers. Like he doesn't need somebody else to react to his commentary. Like he really just needs somebody to love him. And so that was the bad one. Okay, so the good one, I think the best one was somebody that became my not my friend, but somebody that is now in my life, and that I look up to. So this is let's call this guy. I don't know. I'm not that great with guy names, guys. Let's call this guy Robert. Oh wait, somebody's coming. I'll continue right now. Hola. Buenos días. Sí, mira, aquí está el menú. Tengo de estos cuatro. Sí, la especial es cuatro tacos por 14.75 y son de tortilla regular. Ah, ok. A ver, ¿cómo se quiere que se la reparta? ¿Todas de papa? Sí. Ok. Ujú. ¿Y ya lo quieren preparado con la ensalada y salsita verde y roja arriba? Ok. ¿Les gusta con mucha o poquita salsita? Ok. Ok, que no estén enchilosas. Ok. Nada de salsa entonces. ¿Nada? Ok. ¿Y también van a querer que se los tape con el aluminio? Oh, ok. Pues se los dejo así. Ujú. ¿Iban a pagar con tarjeta o efectivo? ¿Con tarjeta o efectivo? Aquí. Y ya está. Sin salsa, con salsa. Y déjame darle este cambio. Sí, gracias. Oh, bueno, muchas gracias. Oh, servilleta, sí. Perdón, aquí está. Muchas gracias. Mm, okay. You guys are funny. The comments. Okay, so I was sharing. So the one that went well, he became like an acquaintance even up to this day. Okay, let me tell you guys. So I still have a mass admiration for this man. So let me tell you, I was a rude, very mean girlfriend. Even in, oh my God, like the audacity that I had. I remember he wanted some space because, like I said, I would push people to the point where they would not want to be with me because I was having such destructive behavior. And so, like when this guy wanted space, I remember thinking in my mind, I'm like, how dare he? Like I'm gonna be the best thing that he ever has, even though I was a shitty girlfriend, you know. But it's like I'm the best thing that he ever will have. And then I remember, like I was like, you know what? I'm gonna date somebody right away out of spite. Can you believe that? And then I posted that new boyfriend, like it, right away. Me and that boyfriend ended up like being together for like a year and a half, but it was out of spite. Like an example of the kind of shitty human being I was. Okay, I know that was shitty. I know it. But let me tell you, like this man, like he, I apologized to him. I told him like, you know what, like I was a crappy girlfriend. I am very sorry that like you you had to be with that. Like it's not somebody I am I want to be any longer, and it's not that I'm asking you to be my boyfriend again, but I just want to say I'm sorry. And then he's like, you know what, like Lucy, like you were going through your stuff. Like I get it. Um, and I remember thinking like, wow, like this guy has like a lot of love for people because he said like, no, you were going through stuff, and I shared with him like this is what I was going through, and I was like, you know what, I get it. Like I can see why you would do the things that you do and the things that you did. Like um, and then he gave me an insight. He's like, maybe the reason why none of your relationships ever worked is because you didn't like men because you didn't trust men because of what your uncle did to you. And in my mind, I was like, wow, I don't trust men. I don't trust. I want to be with somebody. I want to be like in a really good, beautiful marriage and committed relationship, but yet I don't trust men. And I was just like, whoa, like I was blown away, and it made sense. And then he said that he wishes me the best of luck, and that he he wishes like. And then I told him, I was like, you know what, like you did. I told him, I was like, you know what, Robert, you deserve a great girlfriend. Like you really do. You deserve also like to have a really amazing marriage and find somebody that loves you and loves you for you, because you're a very like caring person. Like you had no reason to be even in this conversation with me, yet you're giving me the time of the day, and I was being um and I just want to say thank you. And and then we went on our merry way, and then we added each other on Instagram. He owns a he owns a business and everything now. Um, and every now and then I ask for his advice, and he also asks, like he tells me like, hey, how's your business going? So we share a lot of that. And so that that's that was the best one. Like honestly, that was like the best one I the best conversation I had. I mean, and then everybody else, all the other boyfriends were like, hey, like it's okay. It was like a long time ago. Um, it's like all forgive and forgotten. It doesn't like it doesn't mean, you know, it doesn't mean that like they'll forget what I did, but at least there's some peace there. At least there's some peace there. And then okay, so that was the best part. So I took responsibility and I opened up a space. So then let me tell you, God works in mysterious ways because I remember like when I opened up the space, when I started coming clean to all my exes, and then even the people I couldn't reach, I prayed for them. Like I prayed because I was like, hey, like there's a reason they don't want to have communication with me, and I get it. But I'm praying that that they're okay and that they find peace with whatever it is that they're dealing with. And every now and then I still pray for them, and because they didn't want to reach me. Um, but yeah, like that was it. And so that was step number two. I took responsibility. I took responsibility for everything, and my life started changing. The way I viewed people started changing. I started being more compassionate to people. And then I see people that would have addictions every now and then. Like I get it. I was there. I used to be an alcoholic. That's why I'm a recovery alcoholic. I don't drink. At 23 when I decided no more, like and I decided to lose the weight, I stopped drinking. Like I would remember thinking to myself like, no, this is it. And I went one year I went to actually no, sorry, this was last year. I went to Mexico with my husband's side of the family to Oaxaca, and they wanted to try the mezcal. And I drank a little bit of mezcal, but I realized alcohol is no longer for me. It's no longer like something I want to do. Yeah. So I took responsibility. That's step number two. Then step number three, I continued doing everything that I was already doing. So I didn't go back. And even if let's say if I said, "Oh, I'm not going to do that anymore," because obviously that hurt you, like to my husband, let's say, right? And so I every now and then I do mess up. I'm human. I'm not supposed to be perfect. I can't be perfect, or else I'd be a robot. I mean, but every now and then I still clean it up. I clean it up. It's like, hey, you know what? I realized that you said you didn't like me doing this, and I did it again. And you know what? Like next time, you know what I'm gonna do different is maybe, let's say if he doesn't like the way sometimes I'm being sarcastic when I'm upset, like I'm like a sarcastic a-hole, And I remember one time he told me, he's like, you know what, I really don't like the way when you're being sarcastic. Like, yeah, you don't raise your voice, you don't do, but you're really sarcastic. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Like, I'm gonna stop doing that. And I remember one day I got really upset, and I was like, I know he doesn't like that. I'm gonna do it. And I was being sarcastic, and I was like, when I was being sarcastic, I was like, bro, here I go. Like, what the hell? Like, and then I remember once I cooled down, I was like, you know what? I realized that he said he didn't like it. I still did it. I'm gonna continue working on it. Next time I'm gonna walk away. If I know I'm gonna about to say something, I'm gonna walk away, and I'm gonna tell you like I'm gonna walk away before I say something stupid. And I literally have been doing that, and that has actually been working. I've been getting more space, but right now that's what works for me. And I'm not perfect. Like I messed up. I messed up. I acknowledge I messed up. Um, oh wait, I need to continue doing some stuff. Oh, sí, lo puedo poner aquí. Dame un momentito. Déjame desamarrarlo. Ay, ay, ay. Ya está. A ustedes que tengan bonito día. Aquí está. And the third thing that I did to transform my relationship to people and stop having so much hatred, the third thing was that I actually started. I once I started putting more and more things in place and started acknowledging where I messed up and having these type of conversations with people, I realized like I need some form of guidance that's way bigger than myself. So I actually started like a spiritual practice. And part of my spiritual practice, like this morning, like I prayed in for half an hour. I prayed for um hold on, I'm trying to remember. Today was something specific. This morning I prayed for every interaction that I have today, like have compassionate and have what's the word, like empathy for people, especially if they're being mean to me or being edgy to me, like having empathy for people. Because when somebody's mean to you or somebody is like rude to you or somebody's not the best to you, it's never about you. It's about whatever they're dealing with. So pray for them and then like wishing them peace of mind. and it's eternal peace of mind because you can have peace of mind and it comes and goes, but I wish them eternal peace of mind and for them to have access to get it. And um, and that's what I prayed for half an hour this morning. So I pictured almost everybody that was going to be a client, like right now, like these people were great people, right? Like they were sweet, they were gentle, and but it's still in my mind. I'm like, I'm gonna give them the best service that I possibly can, and hopefully that triggers a beautiful thing for them to do for other people. Because remember, when you're being mean to someone, like it gives that person a reason to be mean to somebody else. Like let's say you walk into a coffee shop and you're just on your phone, right? Like you order your drink and you're on your phone. You're very typical. You're very normal about it. But and then that's how your day goes. Like that's how the rest of your day goes. Like very typical, very normal. But let's say you walk into a coffee shop and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna smile to people. I'm gonna be the best to like the cashier. I'm gonna be really sweet to that person. I'm gonna find something authentic that I like about them and compliment them on them. Like let me tell you, when you walk into that coffee shop and you're like that, you make that bartender or that cashier, you make their day, and then they're becoming more nice to the next customer. Or let's say you see you're in line and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna compliment one person in this coffee shop and it's gonna be real, it's gonna be authentic, it's gonna be honest. And then the person in front of you has the best shoes. I'm like, girl, your shoes are beautiful. Your outfit, it makes your outfit look that much cuter. Let me tell you, that girl is gonna be walking around with a smile out of that coffee shop, and she's gonna take that with whoever she talks to on her phone, or maybe hold the door for somebody else. Like you provide that access to somebody else. So for me was like every person that I comes to my stand and gets me tacos, like gets tacos from me, I want to give them the best version of me. Even if they're being mean, like I'm gonna give them the best version of me. And I'm gonna pray. And if they're being mean or if they're being rude or somebody online is being mean or being rude, like I'm still gonna wish them a best day because like it does nothing for me to wish them a good day or being a nice person to them. It costs me nothing and it gives them everything and it gives me something too. It gives me like wow, like I'm able to provide that, I'm able to be that. So that's the third thing. But for me that's my spiritual practice. For those of you to go in bigger depth, that's actually my Buddhist practice. I'm Buddhist. I don't want to say a Buddhist practice, but it's a spiritual practice. It really is. It's being Buddhist. It's about being great with people and finding ways to love people, and that's just like one of the meditations. Like that's and that's literally a meditation that we have to do. And there's so many. And it really is about like providing value for our lives, but value for other people. Because when you provide value for people, it makes you happy. Just like when you do a good deed, it makes you happy inside, right? It's very similar to that. You're right. We have enough Karens in the country today. You guys are funny. Very true. And let me tell you, I was one of them. So I'm not proud, but I'm proud of my process. Like I'm very proud of like I had to go through that to be here. So those are the three things. The first one, I'm looking back at my notes. I seek for help outside of myself. So whatever, if you're dealing with something close to this, seek for help outside yourself, whether that's a religion, whether it's therapy, counseling, seminars, books, but make sure you actually like go through with the stuff. Like take action with it. Don't just believe it. Like take actions consistent to what you're practicing and what you're putting in place. Second one is I cleaned up all my mess and I restored my relationships with people, whether they're in my life or they're not, or every time I mess up, I clean it up. I take responsibility. And the third thing was that um, do some form of spiritual work. That for me is like I did some spiritual work, and that has given me more of a reason to continue. And those are the three things. And I'm gonna get off now. But thank you guys so much for being here in my live, being in the comments. I couldn't really read that much because I felt like if I read all of them, like it was gonna derail me, bleh, deal, delay, no, delay me, no. What's the word? It was gonna shift me into something else. I'm sorry. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Oh, let me see. You're right. Okay, let me see if I can read some of the comments actually. Monster Pig, thank you so much for staying in the conversation. And the Walmart guy too. Um, all right, you guys. So, um, I'm gonna leave you guys. Thank you guys so much for being on my live. I will be uploading the live, so if you ever want to go back to it and rewatch it, you can rewatch it. And just make sure to see my last live. My last live I went yesterday, the live I did, I was talking about how we started this business and through the pandemic and how it actually is going and like facts about it. So if you guys want to see that, and there's also more insights about me, myself, and what I dealt with on there too. So if you guys want to see that, you guys can see that in my last live. And I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Bye.